Welcome to the meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission for September 15th, 2022. The time is 4:30. I'm Margot Schaub, and I serve as the Library Commission Affairs Analyst. This meeting is being held in hybrid format, with the meeting occurring in person in the main library Corrett Auditorium and available to view or listen to on WebEx. Public comment will be taken both in person and remotely by video or call-in for each item on the agenda. We will conduct public comment with attendees in the Corrett first and then move to WebEx for public comment. Each comment is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. Members of the public can observe the meeting using the WebEx system by following the link in the library's event calendar or by calling local 1-415-655-0001 and entering the access code, which is 2484275-4212. Attendees wishing to offer public comment virtually should raise their hand when public comment for that item is called. To make public comment when connected by phone, please raise your hand by dialing *3 to be added to the remote queue for the agenda item you intend to comment on. Individuals joining by WebEx should click the raise hand button in the lower right-hand portion of the participant panel to be added to the queue. Mike Smith with Media Service Operations will facilitate this meeting and assist in moderating WebEx virtual public comment. Media Services will call upon WebEx attendees by name or by caller number to prompt each attendee who wishes to provide public comment. If we experience any technical issues with WebEx, we will recess and try to address the issue. Please try logging back into WebEx if there are technical problems. Library commissioners in attendance are President Connie Wolf, Commissioners Ono, Lomax, Giraduzzi, Lopez, and Bolander.
Thank you very much. And hello and welcome to the September 15th, 2022 meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. To those of you here with us in Corrett, we're delighted to see you. Welcome. And we are also very pleased to welcome our virtual audience via the WebEx platform. We have a full and exciting meeting ahead, and we will start first with reading our Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement. The San Francisco Public Library Commission acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We recognize that the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and have maintained harmony with nature for millennia. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. We recognize to respectfully honor Ramaytush peoples, we must embrace and collaborate meaningfully to record indigenous knowledge and how we care for San Francisco and all its people. If you have not already done so, all the materials for this meeting are available at the back of the room, and for those online on the Library Commission website, sfpl.org. Today we have 5 agenda items, and we will begin with item number 1, general public comment. Operations, could you let us know how many people have joined us via WebEx?
Madam President, there are currently 9 people in the WebEx.
Thank you. We will start with general public comment from members of the public present here in the Corrett Auditorium, and then take public comment from those members of the public observing or listening through WebEx. General public comment is now open here in Corrett.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. Library Users 2004 at Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. That's important information for everyone concerned, and I'd appreciate if you would take note of it in your summary of my comments in the minutes. I have a couple of points, some of which you've heard before in general, and some of which are new. First of all, you should not be touting the social media that you repeatedly tout over and over again, as in when you say, as in this little box, get social. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. These are all folks who have serious problems with busting people's privacy, using their information in any way they can to make money. And you have, as a library and librarians, have a duty to maintain the confidentiality of library users and library users' information requests and what they borrow. We recently learned that a Twitter employee was found guilty of spying on Saudi dissidents using personal information that folks who were dissidents were using so that they could try and maintain anonymity. But this person sold the information to Saudi authorities, and we know what MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, has done with some dissidents. It isn't just privacy. This is a matter potentially of life and death and also harassment of all kinds. And you're touting for no reason these sites is wrong, especially when you don't give any warnings to people about what's going on. The same with Facebook. Facebook is has been said by Frances Haugen in front of the Senate to be focused on profits over safety, especially for children and girls. The whistleblower on Twitter yesterday at the Senate, or maybe it was the day before, testified the same thing. Twitter is putting profits over safety and doesn't even know where its data is, doesn't know what it's got, doesn't know where it's stored, and thousands of people have access, which is wrong in terms of data security. You should not be touting this stuff. You also need to do a privacy audit, and I'd like to know your public comment. When do you do?
Any further public comment here in Correct Auditorium? We will now take seeing that there's no further public comment here in Correct, we will turn to general public comment through WebEx. Members of the public who wish to make general public comment on WebEx, click the raise hand button in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. And if you've called into the WebEx number, please press *3 to line up to speak. Operations, if there are any commenters in the remote queue, please begin to put them through.
Madam President, there is one commenter in the queue. Caller number 8, your 3 minutes begin now.
Am I in public comment? Hello?
Yes.
I fully support everything Mr. Warfield said. I want to add another important legal issue that the Library Commission needs to address, and that is the fact that the Friends of the Library that operates a very useful, helpful bookstore in the Civic Center Library is violating state law when they refuse to give patrons, every single patron who buys anything there, a receipt. The state tax code requires every transaction in the state of California, retail transaction, to provide the buyer with a receipt. The Friends of the Library are in violation of that state law and code. So please respect the state law and respect the privacy of the all the patrons who use the library, including the bookstore at the Friends of the Library. And this is also a privacy issue because the volunteer cashiers who run that bookstore usually demand an email address, which is a violation of the patron's right to the privacy of not providing such information and instead getting a paper receipt. So please look up the law and let us know when you've decided that you're going to enforce it before we have to take any further legal action. Every aspect of the library should be legal, federal, state, and local, and I don't believe they're in compliance with state law in this respect. Thank you for listening to the public.
Are there any further comments?
Madam President, there are no additional commenters at this time.
Thank you. Hearing no further requests for comment, general public comment is now closed. And we now move on to item number 2, which is a discussion on the branch library's capital projects and update. And I will turn the meeting over to our city librarian, Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf, and good evening, library commissioners. Library staff appreciates this opportunity to provide an update on our branch library's capital projects. It's been a momentous week, and as a late-breaking development, I'm pleased to report the California State Library awarded the San Francisco Public Library $13.2 million in grant funds to support the Mission Branch and Chinatown Branch renovations. The governor announced the grant awards for public libraries on Monday, and we were delighted the city and county of San Francisco was included in this first round of funding. We do have copies of the mayor's press release highlighting this award at the back of the room. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters. Our partners from Public Works are here this evening. We have Senior Architect Lourdes Garcia and our Chief of Branches, Rebecca Alcala Veraflor. She's going to get us started tonight.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here. I'm very delighted to provide you with some updates. I'll be taking on I'll be providing some information about our Chinatown, Mission, and Ocean View capital projects, along with, as Michael said, our partner from Public Works, Lourdes Garcia, who is the senior architect. All right. So today we'll be talking to you about the community engagement that we've embarked on with all 3 projects. And Lourdes will be providing you with a project status and next steps update on the buildings themselves. All right. So here's just a little preview of what our community engagement looked like. On the left-hand side of my screen where you see Michael Lambert speaking, that's at our Ocean View branch library in the community room. And on the right-hand side, you'll see me speaking, and that is in our Chinatown branch community room. I also want to provide you with an update today on before I get into the community engagement specifically around those branches, on Mission Branch and how things are going at 1234 Valencia Street, which is our temporary site. You can see here a very lovely quote from a community member sent to me via email, which was nice, about the collection and his delight in what we've been doing there. So you may recall we opened the temp site on June 18th to the public with 7-day service and evenings included. On July 10th, you can see here, we participated in Sunday Streets Valencia, the librarians were out providing books to the community members. There were a lot of programs. There were things happening inside of the library. It was bustling, and I know the community is very excited to have us there. We've also had programs where we partner with Rec Park for story times, for example, at Garfield Park, and also have partnered with Café La Bohème and Medicine for Nightmares to present both, programs for all ages. So exciting things happening there. Chinatown branch community engagement. On May 10th and May 14th, we had the in-person branch events taking place in our community room at Chinatown. And on May 12th, we had the virtual meeting via Zoom. And I want to call out that we did have all 3 meetings in English, Cantonese, and Mandarin for those who wished for interpreters. So Here you can see some of our frequently asked questions or topics of concern. The community members really wanted to know about whether or not we would get a temporary location when the branch closed, and we let them know yes, and we learned a lot from Mission and how that went. So yes, definitely. Of course, they are very concerned about their Chinese language collection, the children's room, making sure that we still have public computers, and the very important community room space. I also want to point out a quote that we had from a community member about the importance of including teens. Currently, we don't have a specific designated room for teens at the Chinatown branch, and we know it's so important to have them feel or make a space for them, even if they pretend they don't want to be there. We know they want to be there. And so, it was just heartening to hear one of our older patrons speak to how important that age group is. So I wanted to include his quote there. Okay. And then we had engagement at the Ocean View branch. And here we have some photos of programs that have taken place at the branch. The community room on the left-hand side, the first one with the children, that's actually a Mandarin program where instructors are coming and showing, teaching kids Mandarin. In the middle, we had a outdoor-indoor program that happened at the Sisterhood Garden on Arch. And then on the third one, that's our awesome Mitzi Bradford, our page at Ocean View, where we had these take-home herb kits where we explained how to build your own kind of herb garden. Very popular. So here we know that in Ocean View, Merced Heights, Ingleside, we need in that specific area where the Ocean View branch is currently, there are services that we haven't been able to provide due to the size of our branch that's there, which limits our collection, limits our ability to provide certain types of programs. And, the community room is upstairs and it's small, can't offer after hours use. So we know these are things that are important for libraries. And in that area where we have many children, it's true, the 0 to 5 age group of the OMI is consistently the highest within the city. And there's a huge need there. They are equity zones. So for us to be able, we're hearing from patrons all the time about this lack of services and the smallness of the branch, and with good reason. So the plan to build a library on that green belt of Orizaba and Brotherhood Way provides us an opportunity to materialize a vision that has been long in the making. We brought this vision, this idea, we talked to the community's members on June 8th. We hosted a virtual Zoom meeting. On June 9th, it was in person at the IT Bookman Center. And on June 11th, we hosted one at the Ocean View branch in person. So during these meetings, we provided plans for what the library could look like with the help of our partners from Public Works. We also heard feedback from the community about services for older adults, people with different abilities, collections in different languages, programs to build literacy, just a community place to meet. We also heard about pedestrian safety and being able to get to the branch. Of course, there were differences of opinion regarding the vision, but the most important takeaway is their commitment to working together to realize a vision of large regional library. And that at the end on Saturday, which was our last meeting, was probably the most heartwarming, impactful, and optimistic sentiment that I was able to take away. It was their commitment to working with one another despite these different visions for what the library could be down there. So that is my portion of the feedback or updates on the community engagement. I'm going to pass this over to our partners from Public Works, Lourdes Garcia.
Hello, Commissioners. I am here to give you a project status and next steps on your capital projects. Here on behalf of Public Works, Andy Sohn, project architect, could not be here to give you this report today, but I'm going to fill in. I'm going to do my best here. I'm also here with architect John Paolini, who's also worked on both Mission and is working on Chinatown project, and he'll be able to help me answer any questions that might come up. Good afternoon. I'm going to start with the Mission Branch Library project, give you a project update on that. What we're going to do is review our project delivery method, also give you an overview and a status on the bidding process, what the preliminary bid results are as we know it today, and what our next steps are going to be. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the best value project delivery method, and that's a mouthful. It's taken me a while to say that all at once. Mission Branch is going to be delivered through a best value method. It's an alternative to our standard design bid build. And the reason Public Works recommended and chose this method is because it's going to provide the best value coupled with the best experience for this historic building. We think it's going to give us the best contractor selection for a pre-1940s building, which is a big concern for us. We want to make sure that who's there and who's working on this project really has an understanding of the intricacies that go into working in a historic building. So yes, the goal is to couple historic building experience with a competitive bid process. After that, receiving the bids, the proposals are then scored by an independent panel. We completed that yesterday. We had a great diverse panel for that. Then there's a calculation that will determine the best value, and that's called the best value tabulation. That's happening starting next week, and I think it'll be a week long to kind of get that pulled together. Once the tabulation is completed, then we'll have our successful bidder. Our contractor selection schedule is as follows. We advertised in June and did a bid walkthrough in June. On August 31st, we received proposals. We just went through the best value panel evaluation that, as I said, was completed yesterday. And now we're going to go through the best value tabulation process. After that, it'll be 3 to 4 months of contract award process, and I'll go through that now. But first, I wanted to give you an update on the bid results. We received 3 bid packages. 2 of them were responsive, and what that means is that they met all the requirements. Once we have the best value tabulation results, that will be opened. At that point, we'll know the recommended contractor and price. We do not know the price now. It's a very lengthy process, and they don't share numbers with us until they've checked all the boxes. Okay, so for the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to go through that bid award process. There is a bid protest period that has to take place. After that, Public Works our contracting division will review and approve the bids with the selected recommended contractor. We'll go before the Public Works Commission for a resolution. That commission hearing is set for December 2nd. Once the Public Works Commission approves our recommendation, that basically constitutes an award, and NTP, notice to proceed, can then be issued. We expect to start construction January of 2023 for Mission Branch. We'll be very excited on that day. Just some pictures to remind everybody of what our undertaking is going to be. Again, We are looking to renovate the historic reading room with the central stair. Again, to the right, you see the location of the art that will be seen at the top of the stairs in the big reading room. This is our Mission Branch addition, looking down Orange Alley. The top portion is the teen room. The lower area constitutes the location for the Children's Center. Okay, we're going to move on to Chinatown Branch Library and give you an overview of where we're at there. I'll provide an overview of the progress, the work that we've done to date and how we're progressing on that with some project highlights. I'd like to go over some schematic plans, just real brief overview. We're in the middle of wrapping those up now, and then go through project schedule and next steps for that project. The work that is in progress is that we have actually completed our space planning and programming that informs our building design. We're in the process of looking at innovative structural engineering design. We're looking at embedding steel plates into the walls so that we can open up our grand reading room on the second floor. We're looking at concepts for electrical, mechanical, and lighting design, as well as audiovisual and security design. We've had 3 meetings with library staff to review the ideas that we have in place for schematic design. And so the plans that you'll see are a product of that with the changes that have been made given that input. We've also met with the building code officials to establish what our pre-application might look like and make sure that our code analysis is in good shape for the project. And we've also met with historic planners. Some of the project highlights for Chinatown, basically the big moves for the project, are creating an entry gallery. Again, a flexible commuting room for approximately 100 people, a teen room, updated children's library. We are passionately working on restoring the main reading room and facade of the Carnegie. We'll have group study rooms, looking at updating the roof terrace and incorporating new building systems and resiliency for the library. I'll go over these schematic plans for now. This is the ground floor plan as it stands to date. As you can see, the community/flex room is at the front of the library facing the street. In the historic portion of the building, we're looking at repairing and restoring the main entrance to that space so that it can be used after hours. At the lower portion, we'll also have an accessible entrance and a gallery into the main library. In the space itself, we're looking at consolidating the functional spaces to provide just more efficient and flexible space for the children's area that you'll see in the upper left-hand side in the yellow. And trying to keep that adjacency to the community room so that it can be used as flex space if needed. We are providing the elevator, the vertical transportation, which is the elevator and the stair kind of working together in between the two sides, so that we can open up the other sides and really be efficient with our space. On the second floor, our big design move there and goal is definitely to reopen the historic reading room. And so the bulk of the cleaning up, if you will, happens in that space. We'd like to return it to its original intent. On on the left-hand side of the main floor plan, after the elevator and the stair, you'll have the adult collection and teen room area. We're providing some study rooms towards the back of the library near the teen room and collection area. Information desk is front and center, and the office for staff is right behind it. The mezzanine level floor plan here, you'll see that the mezzanine used to go all the way across through the historic reading room. We are proposing to remove the mezzanine portion so that we can open the grand space there. The mezzanine level will pretty much, will have the convenient stair and elevator. You'll be able to look as you walk across the bridge to the mezzanine. You'll be able to look into the two-story space of the adult and teen areas. On that level, we're going to have a staff break room and conference room, restrooms, exit stair, etc. And then on the roof, we're really proposing to have a better footprint for the roof deck and have a better design there that's very clean and enjoyable. On the historic building side, our goal is to use cover the roof there with photovoltaics and battery storage so that we can have standby power for the library. Again, this is a section. It shows the delineation between the historic building side of 1921 and the addition that was added to the library in 1997. As you can see in the blue areas, those are two-story spaces, which are the big reading rooms and areas. Stair and elevator at the center. At the ground floor, you'll have entrances through the gallery and the flex space and the children's room beyond. Okay, some three-dimensional images to kind of give you some highlights. As you can see, the upper right-hand corner is the state right now of the historic entrance to Chinatown Library. The lower right shows what it looked like in the 1920s. And so our goal is to restore it to that, where we can open up that entrance, have it accessible to the community, be able to use that community space when needed, night or day. And that's our big goal there. And then our ultimate goal is to restore the grandeur of the historic reading room. On the right, you'll see what that space looks like now. It's got that mezzanine going through it with all sorts of structural components breaking up the space. The image on the left is what our goal is, to restore the space to its original intent. We've got a lot of great engineers working with us and providing some wonderful solutions so that we can achieve this. The image on the right shows the current community room and flex space, and the image on the left will give you an idea of what it might look like. It shows where you see the person standing there. Our goal is to provide transparency. That's basically the gallery entrance. Also to open up the children's room and have the community room be an integral space that provides flexibility to the library as well as be accessible from the outside. The schedule for Chinatown Branch Library is as follows. We've completed community engagement, as Rebecca mentioned. We're in the process of wrapping up schematic design. We hope to give the library a set of drawings so that they can review and approve. Once we've gone through that effort, we plan on issuing the set for cost estimating. So a schematic cost estimate so we have an idea of where we're at in terms of cost. We will submit for site permit in the fall of 2022. At that point, we'll continue with the design and documentation of the project so that we can submit for bid, permit and bid, and that'll occur between fall of 23 and winter of 24. If all goes as planned, we'll start construction spring of 2024. And our last update is for Ocean View Library. I have some project updates on that. We'll just go through where we're at in the planning process and just give you a quick overview on project schedule and next steps. As Rebecca mentioned, we had our community meetings on that. At the moment, we're going through, there are traffic safety studies being generated and started by SFMTA and SFCTA. In the short term, planning is underway to improve that pedestrian safety at Orizaba, Sagamore, and Brotherhood, and that effort is being led by SFMTA. Long-term studies are going to be conducted and planned for more improved safety, circulation, and connectivity. And that study will be led by SFCTA. There will be separate community engagement meetings that will be part of those studies and that process, and those community engagement meetings will be led by SFMTA and SFCTA. Just a quick overview of the site again. We're looking at, on the upper left-hand corner shows delineated the location that has been selected for the Ocean View Branch Library. The view on the upper right is basically how the site right now undulates through that area. The lower left-hand view, number 5, shows us looking down Brotherhood Way at the corner of Orizaba and Sagamore. And view number 6 is looking down Brotherhood Way towards the site itself. You see that there's a pathway there. It borders against the residential area. It's a beautiful site. Here's some other views at the corner. This is across the street. View number 1, looking at the location of the planned library. View number 2, again, is that corner looking up Orizaba. And view number 3 is looking down Orizaba to Brotherhood Way. Our next steps here on this project are going to be to respond to the PPA that's in progress. We will then start concept design at the beginning of October, but likely end of September. We're going to try to start this month. That concept design process will take us through February. There'll be lots of milestones in between, probably community meetings to share where we're at on that. After we go through the same process of getting cost estimates and whatnot, we'll then continue with our design phases, which will be from February through September 24. We have a planning application planned for the fall of 23, as well as the environmental review application. And that is our update today for Mission, Chinatown, and Ocean View. Thank you.
Thank you, Lourdes, and thank you, Rebecca. And I do want to acknowledge our COO, Maureen Singleton, for her leadership in shepherding that $13.2 million grant across the finish line.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful, informative presentations. Before we turn this over to the Commission for discussion, we open it up for public comment. We will begin with public comment here in Corrett Auditorium and then take public comment from those on observing and listening via WebEx. So public comment is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
Good afternoon. Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Thank you for the presentation, but there's a lot missing, particularly with respect to details. The controller has said that the library has difficulty listening, and I see that the city librarian is looking at his papers. Another library commissioner is reading something and making notes. We only have a few minutes in these meetings to have our voices heard as members of the public, and it would be nice if the folks who are supposed to be listening and considering public comment might give evidence of paying attention. One of the problems with the meetings that I'm seeing, yes, exactly. I see the chair smiling. It would also be useful to note that there are only 5 members and you have not taken a roll. We don't know if we're on the phone who's here and who's not. There's no documentation in detail about community meetings and what people said. We have on one of these, we have a kind of partial sentences, phrases, but there's no clarity as to what folks wanted. That's something that you ought to be taking very careful note of. What's the final Mission Branch design? Is that the one where the grand stairway leads to a toilet with some stained glass decorative material above it? Is that still the case? I've certainly said that the old design led to the grand entrance and the librarians at their grand desks seeing who's coming and going and available immediately when you arrive. Now there's nobody in view and you have to turn to find the desk if that has not changed. I'm disappointed there's been no prior notice at the Library Commission about any of these meetings, as far as I know. There's been no information about who the historic planners are and who various judging groups will be. There's absolutely no indication of the number of books or the shelf space. Those are key basic measures, and the library has been consistently ignoring requests for that information, so we can only assume that there's more debookification going on. The Ocean View is placed in what I believe is a traffic death trap. Page 39 is incomprehensible, little pictures. And what's PPA? How about talking in English language and not just in, it's a great effort. We don't see the specifics that would help us understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment here in Correct Auditorium? Seeing no further comment here, we will turn our attention to public comment via WebEx. Members of the public who wish to make public comment on WebEx, please click the raise hand button in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. If you've called into WebEx dial-in number, please press *3 to speak. Operations, if there are any commenters in the remote queue, please begin to put the commenters through.
Madam President, there are 2 commenters in the queue. William, your 3 minutes begin now.
Hi, my name is William Walker, and I am a resident of Lakeview, and that's better known to some folks as Ingleside or Ocean View. I live right by City College. I've been to some of the public meetings in regard to Ocean View Branch, and I actually want to commend the Library Commission and the staff for being very, I've been told and kept up to date about this meeting happening, so I just want to thank you all for considering letting me know. I do want to say that I grew up in a neighborhood that had the smallest library in San Francisco, and I gained a lot from being able to go there as a safe space as a child. It's now a very beautiful branch right on Diamond Street. It used to be a small little branch on Chenery. I recognize the importance of this Ocean View branch because when I was a child, it was also just a reading room on Broad and Plymouth. it was like a rental space that was probably like an art gallery or something, very small size. So I just want to see a little bit more engagement with the community because I know that there are a lot of young people. I'm actually sitting at my desk grading papers at Abraham Lincoln High School, and I know that young people lack spaces where they feel safe to go. And when I look at the southeast side of town, they're about to open a brand new community center. The old southeast facility on Oakdale's reopening on Evans, and it's a lot larger and it should be offering more programming. The southwest side of the city has a very similar African American, Asian, and Latino population that doesn't have as much access to resources. And it would be great to be thinking about this building as a build out to being a community center to serve the southwest side. At the last meeting, there were some folks who were against building a new library in the neighborhood, and that just was mind-boggling to me. And I hope that you're not swayed by those folks. And I encourage you to keep looking at spaces. I'm an urban planner by trade, and that intersection of Arch and Alamany would probably be a great place. There's already a lot of housing established near it. There's retail. So I know that the Orizaba location seems to be very popular. And I think you could still build something there too safely if you have community buy-in. But let's just continue to bring in community members and have thoughtful discussions. And the more folks that we have, the merrier. And I hope that we have a great community center for our side of town too with the library. Thank you.
3 minutes. Thank you. Caller number 8, your 3 minutes begin now.
I've got two short concerns. One is I'd like more detail about the new mission branch, some of which I think Mr. Warfield addressed. The other is the use of abbreviations, as also Mr. Warfield pointed out. I think you need to be clear. You don't use abbreviations. Use the full version. San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency and the like. But I would like more detail on how you work with these agencies and what, if any, public participation has been involved when you're working with these agencies. So this has been largely a hidden operation from the public. We only see the end result, possibly, or the near end result. We need more public participation, especially when it comes to the mission branch, which has been closed for so long. But it's a tremendous asset that we have the temporary branch left open. That's open on Valencia. Keep up that good work, and never forget that you have a duty to protect the privacy of all patrons and everybody in San Francisco. And I think the commission and the city librarian has not done a good job on that score. And this does relate to the public relations that the library is involved in. The leaflet you hand out on this subject is woefully, poorly, and terribly written. So, thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, we have one additional commenter in the queue. Caller number 10, your 3 minutes begin now.
My name is Anne Marie. I'm over at Ingleside, and I am just wanting to call in to strongly support the current proposed location for the Ocean View Library. The Ocean View Library on Randolph has been very popular, but it is pretty small, and we have the smallest library at this point in the city. And to build that branch at Sagamore and Orizaba and Head is really critical for the number of families and students who need a good place to get resources, to be able to have neighborhood meetings, to be able to have a location that has access to public transportation. It's a good location, and it needs to go forward. And I didn't hear too much about the Ocean View branch in this call, but I really want to urge that I support the building of that branch.
Thank you, caller number 10. Madam President, there are currently no additional commenters in the queue. I will pause briefly to allow additional commenters to join the queue. Madam President, there are no additional commenters in the queue.
Thank you, Operations. Hearing no further requests for comment, public comment is now closed. And we now move on to commission discussion on item 2. I just want to thank Lourdes and Rebecca, and I suspect there will be some questions. So thank you for offering your time, and thank you for the very robust presentation. It's a very exciting moment, especially with this press release just out, fueling the excitement and the drive to forge ahead. So I open this up to my fellow commissioners for comments and questions. Okay, Commissioner Lopez.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I do have a question regarding the panel and the selection of the panel. If you could elaborate a little bit more, I'm assuming that they're part of, because you were saying that it is a very diverse and come from different places.
Can you hear me? Okay. So the selection of the panel is, it's its own process at Public Works. We're required to have, to meet certain criteria, and I can't specifically tell you what that is, but we go through that through HR has specific criteria on the diversity of the panel. Not only are they looking for gender diversity, but ethnic diversity, as well as having the panel have the appropriate people. So there was a member from the library, John Cunha, represented the library. We had a project manager from Public Utilities Commission. She's a project manager that's worked on very, very large projects, very familiar with the process. And we had a construction manager from Public Works. Andy Sohn, the project architect, is not allowed to be on the panel, but is only there to provide any answers as needed.
Thank you. Thank you. That clarifies.
Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just curious in terms of like if they were from different units and, the composition and the expertise that the panel brings. But it definitely sounds like it's a very diverse group. So I'm really excited. I do have another question.
Yeah.
And by no means, I'm not an architect or construction person, but I think it's more of a comment. I know that with the newer generations, just make sure that the buildings have a lot of outlets, because I can just tell you that sometimes those are very a commodity when you're trying to charge your computers or your phones and all of that. So
Point taken. Absolutely. I think especially, well, now more than ever, we have a lot of students coming in with technology and phones and whatnot, and we do have to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of electricity and voltage and access to all of that. So I appreciate your comment.
Yeah, I was just thinking something like the airports where, so
Work.
that the work.
They need to work.
They need to
work.
work. Yeah. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Lomax Garaducci.
Thank you, Madam President. The traffic safety planning, I can see that you have a multitude of city departments. To what degree are community members engaged in any portion of the traffic safety planning piece?
So because these are studies conducted by these separate organizations, I don't know the details of the study or specifically their process, but we did have David Long from SFCTA that attended our community meetings for Ocean View. They have not started. Neither one of these agencies have started. Right now, they're gathering information, data. I believe the SFCTA received a grant to study the more long-term vision for the area. And so once they start, David did say that they will engage with the community. They'll have their own meetings, which is normally part of the MTA process and the CTA process, where the community, I encourage everybody to attend and voice their concerns, because all of that is what they need to hear. They need to hear that, yeah.
And I assume that they would have their processes that are different than yours.
Yeah.
Just a note that there has been commentaries that have come to this commission about some of these things already. And so just the need for them just to make sure that they're paying attention, that the commission has already heard that.
I think we're trying to, as Public Works, be there side by side, because we really care about what's being looked at for this area. And so I believe that we've discussed having links to the community meetings and noting them on the library website so that people are informed of when these are taking place. So we're definitely connected with the project managers for those projects. We want to be there, listen to what's going on, and we will be attending the community meetings as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Lomax Garaducci. Commissioner Ono?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. I kind of answered my own question, but in the press release, my question was going to go off of Commissioner Lopez's need for more electrical outlets. Both of the locations, Mission and Chinatown, are going to have solar panels. Hoping you say yes to Ocean View too?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. There are requirements for us.
Okay, good.
Environmental requirements for
LEED.
and redundancy. Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't mention that. Yeah.
No, I kind of, it just kind of triggered my head after she said more plugs, so thank you.
More plugs.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer a couple of comments. First of all, Rebecca, it's great having you in this new role as chief of the branch library, so thank you for your leadership. And Lourdes, you did a fantastic job standing in for Andy, so we really appreciate your efforts.
You're welcome. Andy's so great.
You're pretty great too, so I just want to thank you for your doing joining us tonight. I also just want to say that I would be remiss if I didn't channel a fellow commissioner who's not here today, which is Commissioner Mall, who would be asking the question about the Chinatown branch and making sure we start the process soon to find the temporary location. It's so fabulous seeing Valencia, 1234 Valencia. And I know that took enormous amount of effort, and there were so many stops and starts, not because the staff wasn't working endlessly on this, but there were just some other mitigating factors. So if we really are looking to start the Chinatown branch, construction in the spring of 2024, really making sure we have something in place by the end of 2023.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And we're very fortunate in the case of Chinatown. That community is already vocalizing their desire to have a temporary library. They're offering up opportunities for, storefront space to lease. They are very in tune with their neighborhood, and they are continually monitoring spaces that are available and making us aware, communicating with the district supervisor there. So we're in good shape. We learned a lot from Mission, and absolutely, we are going to start working in earnest, I would say, before the end of this fiscal year, probably the fourth quarter of FY23. So between April and June, we'll start that conversation with real estate and start scanning the market. But that gives us plenty of time because the construction is not going to start until the spring of 2024.
Great, thank you. I also want to add that this is we're about to embark on an incredibly exciting several years ahead with the launch of the renovations at Mission, getting Chinatown finalized with its construction documents and out for bid, and then the planning of a new standalone branch, which is really fantastic. And it's been a while since we've done that, and it's a great opportunity to make sure there are plugs in every corner and in every place. And also, I just want to say that I had the opportunity and the delight of attending the meetings in Ocean View, and that community is incredibly engaged, very thoughtful. So I really look forward to their participation as we move forward. And I just want to end by saying we look forward to more updates because this is such an exciting moment for all three of these locations, as well as what happens in all of the other branches. So thank you to the team here presenting and to the larger team that helped inform this. And again, thank you very much. So we now move on to item number 3, which we always enjoy, which is the City Librarian's Report. So we turn it over to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. I have a number of reports this evening, and I'm pleased to introduce our first presenter, our CFO, Mike Fernandez. He's got an update on our point of sale system implementation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Happy to come before you this evening in my dual role as both the CFO, as Michael mentioned, and also the project manager for the library for the implementation of our new point of sale system. It's comprised Smart Money Manager, and for this evening, I'll give you a brief update on both the benefits of the new system and where we are in the process of the implementation. So the main goal of the system is really to improve customer service. Currently at our 27 branch locations, patrons do not have a PCI, which is payment card industry approved system to pay for any fees using a credit card. Right now, we have to ask patrons to head over to the main or walk away from the counter and use a separate online system and then return back to the desk. This is unnecessarily complicated and understandably very inconvenient for our patrons and not the experience we'd like to provide. In response, we went out to bid back in 2019 to seek a partner with a firm who had experience working with other library systems and could integrate our existing Sierra system, which we use currently to manage our patron accounts. We found a partner in Comprise Technologies that have been able to configure a solution specific to the library environment. We're very excited about that. They were able to identify hardware that will allow us to replace all the existing cash registers and replace them with the solution you can see here. The picture's a little bit faded, so it's a little hard to see, but it's an all-in-one system that has a tablet, a receipt printer, and a cash drawer, as well as a little sign-in for the library operators. When implementation is complete, we will be able to process cash, checks, and credit cards at all our branches. We will be able to simplify the reporting process for all the staff using the system. And the aim there is really to reduce the amount of staff time needed to produce, review, and then for my team to really analyze those financial reports. And security is very important. While the system can talk to Sierra, we require that it does not have the ability to read the patron data stored in Sierra beyond what's necessary just to complete the transaction. Likewise, we have end-to-end encryption in keeping with the PCI requirement to keep all the transaction data secure, so nothing gets exposed. This has been a really large undertaking requiring dedication and collaboration across multiple divisions within the public library system, so I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge all the people who've really been keeping this process going. Shirley has been stepping in to help me as I'm the new PM as my assistant PM. She's been instrumental. Our IT has been instrumental in preparing the network and ensuring the infrastructure is ready to accept the new machines. Alicia has been instrumental in coordinating this effort, as well as Jason planted behind me. Genevieve has been incredibly crucial to coordinating across all the branch staff, so thank you, Genevieve, and Michelle as well for the main. She's also been really key in leading all of our testing configuration. She's been a really helpful power user, so thank you. So where are we? As I mentioned earlier, we went out to bid back in 2019. Since then, we've completed the contracting phase. We gathered all the information needed to set up all the accounts. After that, we had a bit of a gap. That was mainly due to the pandemic and the resulting availability of staff on both sides, as well as the technology changed somewhat. Because we had that gap, the team decided to take advantage of the technological advances that happened in between, and we updated to a new hardware system than what was originally planned. Now that we have a path forward, we have completed the merchant account setup. We've taken delivery of the new machines, so we actually have them in our possession. And in addition to COVID, we are managing the city's transition to the new banking system, so that's kind of one of the outlying risks that we've had to play around with a little bit. The team has been working very hard to update our procedures for the new system. We developed new training and new manuals, and we're now finally at the point where we've started to train staff on the new system and have scheduled the pilot installation and configuration. In fact, the initial training just happened yesterday. As far as the pilot goes, we're going to start with the main, Park, and Excelsior branches. They're currently scheduled for the end of this month, so very excited about that. And over the next couple of weeks, the system will be installed at the remaining 25 branches. And if all goes to plan, the system will be fully completed by mid-October. We have comprised the contractor under contract for another year of support after the initial installation phase, so it amounts to roughly 2 years total, to ensure that everything works smoothly from there on out. So that they're on site to support us all the way through. And that's it. So thanks, Commissioners. Thanks for your time this evening. We look forward to providing the customer service enhancement for our patrons, and just let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Great job. Thank you for taking this project across the finish line. All right, next up, we have our Chief of Branches again, Rebecca Alcala-Veraflor. She's got an update on our reopening process, and she's going to be tag teaming with our Chief Analytics Officer, Randy McClure.
Okay. Back again. Hi, Rebecca Alcala-Veraflor, Assistant Chief of Branches. No, I'm Chief of Branches now. Still hitting that one. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here with the joy of talking to you about our reopening update and some of our activities in restoring our library services to the community. All right. On September 3rd, we had the joy of marking a critical milestone at the Ingleside, Glen Park, and Visitation Valley branches. We finally were able to resume 7-day service at these 3 locations. And, for Ingleside and Visitation Valley, these branches were Monday through Friday, largely due to the staffing that we had, but with the assistance of our colleagues in Library Human Resources, we've been able to staff them up. And in fact, you see one person who's in our group shot here at Ingleside is our newer Mandarin-speaking librarian, which we know is really critical to that community. So super excited to have Sandy there. So now we're open on weekends in those communities, and we'd heard from the neighbors just how important it was to have that. So very excited to include that at both Ingleside and Visitation Valley. Glen Park, we've added Sunday and Monday back to the menu, including their evening hours. The restoration of these 2 additional weekdays of service and another 35 hours of operation will be a boon to library lovers in districts 7, 8, and 10. They bring total system-wide weekly hours of operation to 1,430. or 98% of pre-COVID hours of operation. I'll let Randy do the real numbers for you, though. So, but I am excited to say that our last standing branch, Noe Valley, the beautiful historic Noe Valley branch, will be the last one to go into 7-day service, opening on Sundays and Mondays and their evening hours. We also have an open house celebration on October 1st, which is the kickoff to that. So I hope you can join us. We're going to have fun. I know they've got a lot planned that day. So yeah, that's our last one, and it's been a labor of love, and I just cannot wait to be able to say we are every library, every day. Stop. Full stop. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Randy, now.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Randy McClure, and I'm here tonight to walk you through a handful of slides showing some of our key performance indicators. Just as a reminder, our format for these slides will be to show a data slide with a sort of a key takeaway at the top, and then usually a red oval or a circle in some cases where I want to call your attention to something. So you last saw most of these slides back in June, so new information is approximately for the last quarter. So here on this slide, we're looking at monthly visits since we reopened our doors back in May of 2021. You can see the steady growth over the last year, culminating in last month, which was August 2022, when we experienced our strongest month of post-COVID foot traffic to date. So almost 280,000 visitors last month. Moving over to monthly circulation, you can also see in the red oval to the right on the top that we have eclipsed 1 million circulations of our materials in 3 of the last 5 months. So that includes as well a post-COVID high of 1.04 million in July of 2022 there at the far right. Looking at other indicators of usage, note that we have also started seeing an increase in public access computing since July, coming after a usage plateau throughout the first half of 2022. And we're seeing a similar effect in Wi-Fi connections over the last couple of months. So note that each of the indicators we've seen so far correlates strongly with visits and foot traffic and people inside our buildings. So as foot traffic tends to increase, we're going to see these metrics also tend to increase. As we move to the patron recovery slides, there are 2 red circles here I'd like to call your attention to. The first, which is kind of in the middle of the bar on the far right, shows that in terms of patron recovery, we have now recaptured approximately 2/3 of our pre-COVID patrons. So those are as far as individuals that we've recovered. So given San Francisco's loss of estimated about 10% of its population over the last 2 years, as well as a complete disruption that is still ongoing with commuting patterns to the downtown core, we're feeling like this is a solid recovery number for us at this point. Further, the second red circle I'd like to call your attention to here on the top of the same bar on the right is what we consider the overall unique number of patrons that have both returned and who are new. So as you can see, it's almost 100% there, which basically means we have the same number of patrons within our database that we had pre-COVID at this point. Skipped one. This is the patron recovery slide that you've seen before, which shows how pre-COVID patrons have reoriented to our services during the pandemic. We've talked previously about how that has occurred with many of our patrons who were previously physical-only users have moved to using electronic materials as well. And as you can see in the headline, we've seen a push of patrons returning in the last several months. Since April, approximately 4,500 patrons, as COVID surges have receded and daily urban activity has started to come back. So this is a new slide showing adult programming data for the last fiscal year. You can see in the top 2 sections that both the number of programs that we had in the adult programming space, as well as the attendance to those programs, were up in fiscal year 22 versus the previous fiscal year 21. However, attendance per program, which is the bottom section there, has decreased. And the reason for that is we've added more in-person programming. Virtual program tends to get more people. So we're going to continue to see that as we continue to roll out more in-person programming at all of our locations. There's also a lag in our programming data, so it's not reflected here in an additional slide. But I also wanted to mention our youth programming numbers came in this week. So it kind of mirrors what you've seen here in the adult programming. But for FY22, we put on 1,870 youth programs with approximately 39,000 attendees. That was a 134% increase in programs since the previous fiscal year, and also correspondingly about a 43% decrease in attendance. So same thing is going on. More in-person programs, not as many people attending those per program, but in the aggregate, we're seeing a lot more activity. So totals, about 3,300 programs last year, approximately 100,000 attendees. So we anticipate, as we're now moving to all full 7-day service everywhere again, we're going to see considerable growth over our programming numbers over the next fiscal year as we reinstitute a full complement of programming. This concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the data. Thank you.
Randy, thank you, Rebecca. That's an excellent segue to our next presentation. We have Abe Ignacio, our Filipino Center librarian. He's going to be sharing information about our upcoming Filipino American International Book Festival, and I believe he's also going to introduce one of our partners as well.
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon to the library commissioners, colleagues, and community members. My name's Abraham Ignacio. I'm the librarian for the Filipino American Center here at the Main. I'd like to, this evening, share a brief presentation on the upcoming biennial Filipino American Center Book Festival. I am here today along with my co-director, Christina Newhart, and, well, not yet, who was also supposed to be here, Edwin Lozada, who are both the co-directors for the festival this year. The 6th Filipino American International Book Festival is happening at the main branch on October 15th to October 16th, 2022, mainly organized by Filipino American writers and artists, PAWA, and the San Francisco Public Library. It's the only one of its kind in the United States. The San Francisco Public Library has been an important anchor and host since the festival's inception in 2011. This year's theme, Hiraya, Emergence, Writing Towards the Future, highlights the resilience of our communities as we weather, struggle, and survive personal, collective, local, and global obstacles and emerge with hope, wisdom, and strength, and re-envision our future as expressed in the creativity, artistry, and passion of our writers. The Tagalog word Hiraya, fruit of one's hopes and dreams and aspirations, exemplifies the essence of the literature featured in the festival. Over 40 authors and artists from the United States and as far away as the Philippines, France, and the United Kingdom will be participating. In addition to the many accomplished authors featured are the festival's keynote speakers, Gina Apostol, Erin Entrada Kelly, and Meredith Talusan. Of special interest is the participation of Nobel Prize, Peace Prize recipient Maria Ressa in a special virtual one-on-one interview. Authors and artists will be present in readings, panels, workshops, and the festival marketplace. In the Sunday session, we will have the closing festival event, a live virtual one-on-one conversation with 2021 Nobel Peace Laureate Maria Ressa. She will discuss the threat disinformation campaigns pose to our increasingly polarized democracies in a conversation moderated by Benjamin Pimentel, longtime journalist and author. Investigative journalist Maria Ressa received the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize for her fearless defense of press freedom and democracy in the Philippines as CEO and co-founder of Rappler, an online news site. For her critical reporting of former President Rodrigo Duterte's government and policies, she faces multiple lawsuits and potentially over 100 years in prison, yet remains resolved in her fight to speak truth to power. Now in her forthcoming book, How to Stand Up to a Dictator, Maria Ressa maps out a global network of disinformation from Duterte's drug wars to America's Capitol Hill, to Britain's Brexit, to Russian cyber warfare, to Silicon Valley and beyond. Newbery medalist Erin Entrada Kelly will be reading from her latest book that she wrote and illustrated, Surely, Surely, Marisol Reini, told in short chapters with illustrations by the author on almost every page. That stand-alone companion novel to Maybe, Maybe Marisol Reini celebrates the small but mighty Marisol, the joys of friendship, the power of being different, and the triumph of persevering. And I just wanted to share a list of some of Erin Entrada's favorite things. Favorite place to write, the library. Favorite place to get books, the library. Favorite place, the library. She is a great friend and supporter of libraries. Award-winning journalist and author Meredith Talusan leads a writing workshop for college and high school students. How to be a writer from many worlds. Those of us with multiple and often conflicting identities have a tendency to struggle with which parts of us to tap into when we write, but it is out of these complexities that our voices can emerge. Filipino authors can be found in all genres. Among the festival's panel discussions is Coming of Age on the Page, a young adult author roundtable with Candy Gourlay, Laurel Flores Fantauzo, and Cynthia Salaysay. The discussion is moderated by award-winning young adult author Randy Ribay. The authors place their protagonists in highly charged situations like growing up in the time of war, the Me Too era, or questioning repressive social norms. We'd like to highlight our youngest author ever at the festival. Zach Lewis Maravilla became an author when he was 11 years old, but to him it still feels like yesterday when he was just a young boy with a dream. He always loved writing. It offered him a way to share his creative expression. When he embarked on his journey to make his dream a reality, he had to stay determined and never give up. He knew that he would look back at this very moment one day and be glad that he persevered. He also wished to impart his love of books to his readers. When he is not writing, he enjoys reading books and playing ukulele. And then finally, I'd like to share a list here of our 25 community partners for this year's festival, a wide range from indie publishers, academic institutions, community and cultural organizations, and the Philippine government. Institutions like Archipelago Books, Bindle Stiff Studio, the Bulasan Center for Philippine Studies, Carayan Press, City College of San Francisco, Philippine Studies Department, Eastwind Books of Berkeley, the Filipino-American Arts Exposition in Pistahan, the Filipino-American Center, Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, Gaudi Bob Press, the Hinabi Project, the Hormel Center, Kearney Street Workshop, Litquake, Paloma Press, Filipino Writers and Artists, the Philippine Consulate of San Francisco, Positively Filipino, Sama Sama Cooperative, Sampaguita Press, the San Francisco Community Health Center, and the San Francisco Filipino Cultural Center, Soma Filipinas, Tuttle Publishing, and the Yuchenko Philippine Studies Program at USF. I thank you and I welcome you folks. Hopefully you will join us on October 15th through the 16th here at the main library for the Filipino-American International Book Festival. Thank you.
And thank you to our partners as well. We're so fortunate to have your partnership. Abraham, thank you so much for your passion and your stewardship of our Filipino Center. All right, last but not least, our closer today is Anissa Melody with an overview of our signature One City, One Book San Francisco Reads program for 2022.
All right, closing it out. And thank you, Abe. You do such amazing work. You don't even know, but you mentored me in so many ways. So always great to hear what Abe is up to. All right, so thank you, commissioners and COO and Mr. Lambert, for allowing me to tell you all about our One City, One Book. Yay! It's our 17th One City, One Book. And so we are excited to let you know we've selected This Is Ear Hustle with the amazing Nigel Poor and Earlonne Woods, along with Radiotopia, PRX, and Crown Publishing. And of course, none of this work gets done without our One City, One Book committee, including Commissioner Mall and Commissioner Wolf, and the amazing hard work of our staff, including Jamie, our PR director, Ellen, who's our graphics department, and then our CDO department has been doing amazing hustling on their own, trying to get us all these books in paperback with the backlog, the shortage of supplies, getting these done in paperback from hardcover. So they've been doing amazing work. All right. So, of course, the big date is November 3rd. Save the date. Earlonne Woods and Nigel Poor in conversation with Piper Kerman from the book and Netflix series Orange is the New Black. And that will also be a hybrid event, so streaming, available via Zoom as well as on YouTube. Together we read. So, the gist of the whole campaign is we're all reading the same book at the same time. So Together We Read book clubs include a kickoff this Saturday at our Ortega branch, and we'll be bringing back our bite-sized book clubs, which are where we break down the book into 3 series, so we really get to dive into a deep dive of the book, as well as some traditional type book clubs. Besides our amazing authors, Earlonne and Nigel, we have some real powerful and interesting writers, including Kristen Henning, in conversation with Reginald Dwayne Betts. And Dwayne is a scholar, an educator, a poet, a legal advocate, and formerly incarcerated. He's also the founder of Freedom Reads, which brings curated books to thousands of prisoners in juvenile detention centers across the United States and Puerto Rico. Sarah Cruzan, who wrote a book called I Cried to Dream Again, will be joining us. And many of these people are joining us from not from the East Coast, from all over the place. So it's really amazing. Sarah also has a very powerful episode on the Ear Hustle podcast. So I encourage you to check out the podcast. Arts is powerful and it transforms lives of many incarcerated folks and those experiencing reentry. We are honored to host 2 exhibitions at the main library. In the atrium, we'll be featuring the work of Damien Linné, who is also the illustrator of Ear Hustle. He taught himself how to illustrate while incarcerated. He also worked in the prison library. When he got out, he became a librarian, and now he's pursuing his PhD. He's amazing. And then after your way through the atrium, join us on the 5th floor to the bridge. We'll be featuring the work of Brandon Tazik and Pendarvis Harshaw, who feature beautiful, beautiful portraits of folks who are experiencing reentry. And both of them will have events accompanying their exhibitions. This is just a huge smattering of all the amazing humans we bring to this campaign. We have the opportunity to work with organizations who work in the field of reentry, social justice reform, abolition movements, and transformative arts fields, including Prison Arts Project, the California Coalition of Women's Prisons, San Quentin News, Prison Literature Project, and a panel featuring our own Jeannie Austin on the inspiration, knowledge, and curiosity while incarcerated. We'll host a number of films, including on the topics of sterilization in women's prisons and the journey of reentry. Our History Center has a great collection of historic San Quentin photographs, and they will be available for patrons to come and take a look at. And the Library Love Tour, as I am calling it, Nigel and Erlon are definitely dedicated to visiting every single one of our branches. So we'll be starting that, I want to say, at the very end of this month. Our books are going out in distribution today, sent to the branches. So they'll be hitting live this weekend with our collateral. And our banners will be hung up. You'll start seeing them all over town. And then we'll make the tour. And finally, I am excited to talk about our partners. My favorite part of this is the free books we get to give to people that they get to keep, not check out. So our scholars get free books. Thank you, CDO, for making this happen. So John O'Connell, Downtown High School, Balboa, and Project Rebound at SF State all get free books. And John O'Connell and Downtown High School also get visits with Nigel and Erlon. And I'm excited to offer to our scholars and to presenters and people working in the incarceration reentry field a special trip to Alcatraz and a guided tour and discussion of their new exhibition, The Big Lockup, Mass Incarceration in the United States. So, of course, none of this is at all not possible without the support of our friends at the San Francisco Public Library. So I love them and thank you for allowing us to do this work. And we hope to see you at the main event and any multitude of accompanying events. And I'm just so proud to be able to, and honored to be able to share the work of so many dedicated folks working in incarceration and reentry, and to be able to share this with a larger system and a larger community and, share how terrible incarceration is, And thank you all. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Anissa. Way to drop the mic there and get everybody excited. Mark your calendars, November 3rd. And I do want to reinforce what Anissa said. Our collection development office, our community programs and partnerships team, they were actually the impetus for this book even being published in paperback format. No small feat, bravo. And that concludes the City Librarian's report.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Anissa, you brought it to great presentations all around and wonderful. So we will now, before we, the fellow commissioners have a chance to ask questions or offer comments, we will open it up for public comment. So public comment now begins in Koret Auditorium.
Good evening, Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. First of all, thank you for all of the presentations, and especially the ones that have to do with something that's so rarely discussed here, which is, I dare not say the four-letter word that begins with B. The Filipino one was especially interesting, but I saw a number of programs having to do with presentations, and I wasn't clear what the date and time was with some of those. So I wonder if where there hasn't been provided that information that perhaps you might ask for it to be provided. With respect to, I did want to say that in general, it's really unconscionable that the city librarian and the chair would put a bunch of things, each one of which deserves an item on its own, to group those all together, and they're all very important. Certainly the reopening is vital and core to the library, and all these other programs are valuable and interesting. They certainly deserve full consideration on your part and appreciation in some cases. The point of sale system strikes me as problematic. Why are we spending very much energy in a library whose slogan begins with free and equal access? What's the point of spending a bunch of energy on this? I understand that there's basically one cash register per location. That means we're talking about, what, 27 branches and a main. What else are you planning to sell? I don't think you should be selling stuff. With respect to the statistics, I think it's very significant that books are showing very strong showings. You have not related the reductions in book circulation to the lack of hours that the library has presented all this time and still. And I think that actually the books are showing huge increases, whereas electronics are not, are pretty steady. There are reasons for all that, but the debookification here, I think, is very wrong on principle, but also in terms of public demand for books, it's very, very strong and very, very healthy. I won't go into details with 12 seconds left, but thank you for the presentations. And I think when 88,000 people we heard last time haven't come back, where's the effort to get them back?
Thank you. Any further public comment here in Correct Auditorium? Seeing there's no additional public comment in Correct, we will turn public comment through WebEx. Members of the public who wish to make public comment on WebEx, please click the raise hand button on the lower right-hand portion of the screen. And if you've called into the WebEx dial-in number, please press *3 to line up to speak. Operations, if there are any commenters in the remote queue, please begin to put the commenters through.
Madam President, there are no commenters in the queue at this time. I will pause a moment to allow additional commenters to join the queue. Madam President, there are no additional commenters in the queue.
Thank you, Operations. Hearing no further requests for comments, public comment on item number 3 is now closed, and we move to commission discussion. Just want to ask that Mike and his presentation on the point of sales, Rebecca and Randall on the reopening of the branches, to increase service, Abraham, your presentation on the book festival, and Anissa on the One City, One Book. So I invite my fellow public commissioners to offer any comment or ask questions. And we know Commissioner
How do you know
Bolander.
I'm going to talk about statistics?
Commissioner Bolander.
Thank you very much for all the presentations. As you know, I love data, and that's why I tend to comment on it. But I'm not going to comment on the graphs today because they were well done and self-explanatory. I do want to have a question about the point of sale system. And my question is, what sort of volume of money do we do per day, per month, and how do we anticipate it going up or down? And I guess the reason is I don't even really know what we charge for. I guess I know we don't have late fees and all that, and of course if you destroy something you have to pay for it. But like, if you can, what's the volume and sort of what are the things that people pay for that this system would help?
So I don't have the volume figures handy, but I can certainly provide those to you.
Please do.
Yeah, no problem. As far as the things we pay for, the large majority are lost book fees, visitor cards, and then we also support interlibrary transactions. So that's the bulk of what we do. So it's certainly not a huge volume of transactions.
What are the interlibrary transactions? What is that?
Sure. So for interlibrary loans, where we facilitate loans across library systems to patrons. Occasionally, those books will go lost or things like that. So there could be a fee associated with that from time to time.
So someone wants to, and somewhere else in the world says, oh, SFPL's got it, send it over, and then they lose it, then they have to pay for it. Is that?
And
correct?
vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa,
okay.
yeah.
So, and you mentioned also that this was part of, there's a new banking system that the city, I'm assuming part of this whole upgrade was to be compliant with that or take care of that or actually take advantage of that?
Not so much, no. So the right now the city is in process of transitioning between two banks, essentially. We're moving over to Chase Bank. And so we, obviously when we're implementing a system like this where we're handling transactions coming in and out or coming to the bank, we want to be very cognizant of because oftentimes there's some hiccups when you're switching these many accounts at once for the whole city. So that was more of a schedule risk that I was just monitoring as a PM.
Okay.
So it's for the system itself, it's essentially just another bank account. So it's just a different account number, routing number. So the system itself should not have any issues with it. And the contractor working with us, it just needs a couple weeks in advance notice. And right now we're at about a month. We've been able to promise about a month notice. So we've been able to meet that requirement.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you could get us like just the volume per day, just to sort of see what the,
Sure.
get a ballpark and, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
And yeah, no other questions.
Commissioner Lopez.
Mike, I do have a question. And I mean, I probably missed this information, but are we going to is the library going to own the machines, or do we have a service for it? And because I know you mentioned that we have a term where they're going to be service for training and just in case, but the machines will be owned by the libraries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we purchased the machines.
And then just out of curiosity, since we're in the topic, are the machines also used for copying?
No, they're just registers. Essentially.
No, like for patrons to pay for copying or to pay for their copy cards or something. I was just wondering. I don't know.
Yeah, no. That's through a separate system that we implemented a little while ago, that we call TBS system, and I forget what the acronym stands for because we just use it commonly now. But I think Maureen, I wasn't here for that system implementation, but no, we don't use that for the copy card.
Sure. Is my mic on? Okay. So for the public print, it's a different cash handling process. So it's more closely linked to the actual site of where the public print is happening. So TBS stands for Today's Business Solution. I'm getting a heads up from my IT folks on the acronyms because we are very acronym heavy in the government. But those cash handling systems are very much located right by those systems. So it wasn't envisioned to be part of the point of sale system. And so the point of sale system is about modernizing cash handling and improving customer service or patron service, and also improving services, as Mike mentioned, for our staff, right? So now it's a very manual process. They go to the cash register, then they have to go to the Sierra system to say, Maureen has paid her fee. This way now they communicates, and it just, and as Mike mentioned, it's just about the transaction of fee payment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further, Commissioner Lomax Carducci?
My comments were actually for Abe, and I just wanted to say that the content of the International Filipino American Book Festival is just brilliant, and to get Maria here as well as humanitarian, and for her to be able to tell her story to other generations, upcoming generations, on how she has stood up, I think is really, really wonderful. And so I just want to continue to acknowledge the quality and the breadth and the depth of this program and bringing it to San Francisco. It's really a big honor for our city to host this. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ono.
Hi, thank you all for your presentations. Every time you guys get to this subject, I learn something new every day. I did not realize that we are the only one in the only library system that has a Filipino book festival. So I commend you for continuing it. Congratulations on 6 years. And as my fellow commissioner said, Maria Reza is a great find to get to come this year. But I also love the fact that there's a very young author. I forgot his age.
Zach Lewis.
11. That is so amazing. It's so cute. Anyway, so thank you very much. I also wanted to say congratulations that October 1st that we're finally going to be open in all of the branches for 7-day service. So I know it's been a long time, a long, hard road, but I commend the entire system for getting it up and running. And one book, one city, one book. Thank you very much. And Mike, your POS, thank you. And shout out to Michael Leong. I know you're heading out. This is your last meeting, so I just wanted to make fun of you before you leave.
Totally.
This is the city librarian report, right? So
I'm shocked the network didn't go down.
I know. There wasn't some major glitch. Well, I just want to say thank you. This was a fantastic range of presentations, incredible people coming. Personally, one of my favorite things I do all year is serve on the One City, One Book committee and read endlessly, and it's fantastic. And Anissa, you really put a lot of punch and incredible thoughtfulness into it, just like Abe has done with his program. It's a really amazing opportunity this fall as we're coming back to life. My only comment is Randall referred to the post-COVID moment, and I was kind of surprised. Are we in? And I thought, I'm not quite sure we're in the post-COVID moment. But that said, it's just wonderful with all the branches coming back to life 7 days a week. We are in a new moment in the library system, and it's wonderful to have so much activity, dedication, and commitment from the staff to really engage communities in such dynamic ways. So thank you so much to everybody for your presentations and your incredibly hard work. So now we will move to item number 4, which is the discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2022 commission meeting. Hard to believe we're in September already. It just, time is flying. So we will begin with open public comment before we turn to commission discussion on this item. Let us begin with public comment here in Corrette. It is now open for public comment.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. And again, I think that's important to include in your minutes. I spend a certain amount of my comment time saying it for a reason. You have left on every single one of these comments that refer to my comments, you've left it out on items 2 to 5, basically everything except item 1. And on item 1, you've left out the P.O. Box address. I would appreciate if you would give the full information each time. And certainly somewhere among the 5. The comments, unfortunately, I think are your expert ability to ignore what public comments say in any kind of a sensible way. So on on library collection trends, you have me saying, he said it's disturbing to see only electronic versions of important books he wants to read. Well, maybe I want to read them and maybe I don't. But what I said in general, and I'm speaking in general for what I consider to be public interest, it's disturbing to see more and more electronic versions of books only with no print version. Everybody can access a print book. Not everybody can access electronic materials, and especially if that's the only option that you offer. And who is unable? Who is less able? All the vulnerable populations that you supposedly care about. With respect to some other matters, on item 3, City Librarians Report, I didn't say He said they didn't measure browsing time and they need an 800 number for publicity to the public. I said you need to provide the 800 number that you have set up with Zoom so that people might know that they can participate in a Zoom meeting by telephone. And that's for all the vulnerable populations that don't have easy access or any access to the internet. On item 5, I said, not that you shouldn't adjourn until you say, you should have an agenda item on the agenda so that there you may say what you would like. For example, you might have some of the questions you've raised today, including from.
Thank you. Any further public comment here in Correct Auditorium? Seeing there's no additional public comment here in Correct, we turn to public comment through WebEx. Operations, if there are any commenters in the remote queue, please begin to put the commenters through.
Madam President, there are no commenters in the queue at this time. I will pause a moment to allow additional commenters to join the queue. Madam President, there are no additional commenters in the queue.
Thank you, Operations. Hearing no further requests for comment, public comment is now closed. And we move to the commission discussion and possible action on item number 4. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the August commission meeting?
I so move that we approve the minutes of August 18, 2022.
Commissioner Lomax Garaducci makes a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Lopez seconds.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf?
Aye.
Commissioner Ono?
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander?
Aye.
Yep.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We now turn to the final agenda item, item number 5, adjournment of the meeting in memory of San Francisco Public Library staff member Tony Wong. I turn the meeting over to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. I appreciate this opportunity to pay tribute to our former colleague, Tony Wong. Tony passed away on Saturday, August 13th. He was a longtime employee of the San Francisco Public Library, a very dedicated worker, and a consummate professional. He was often one of the first people to come to the main library every morning at the crack of dawn. He started his career in the city in April 1997 as a custodian with the Department of Public Works, and he promoted to the custodial assistant supervisor with the public library in late November of 2000. So many of us know and remember Tony from his many, many years of dedicated service as a custodial supervisor. He provided invaluable service to the library and our patrons. He's deeply missed as a member of our library family. Our sincere condolences go out to his family, his friends, and his library colleagues. So I appreciate your consideration of adjourning today in his memory.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful tribute. We now open for public comment on this item. Public comment is now open here in Correct Auditorium.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Unfortunately, I didn't know the person you're honoring, but I certainly approve and agree with honoring folks who have served the library. One of the strengths of the library has been that there are very long-term employees. You might say faithful employees, hardworking. Certainly, custodianship in the library can be a challenge, if I might say, and so that is certainly appreciated. And I only wish that we had what the city librarian said in writing so we could see more about it. There was a comment that I think, well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think that you should not adjourn until you have on your agenda as a regular item as you used to, and as many bodies still do, an item near or at the end where you take an opportunity to express what you would like to see on future agenda items. And I particularly was interested in Member Lopez, Commissioner Lopez's question about whether the cash system was anything to do with copies. In fact, I think that copies are a disaster and a shameful degradation of what we used to have in a variety of ways. And the cache is a problem because I have tried to make a few copies and get some change, and routinely there wasn't change available at the location where I was situated. And that made a problem with making copies. That whole question, I think, is something that needs to be opened up. I also think that what I saw from the COO's plan was to train the staff, and that is a great improvement over what I understand happened with the new computer system, where repeatedly staff was unfamiliar and said they had gotten no training. It was very, very difficult for the public to learn how to use it, how it works, whether it works, why it doesn't work, and so on. And so I'm appreciating that, but I do think it would be useful to take on Commissioner Lopez's question and expand it to discuss those projects and others. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any further public comment here in Correct Auditorium? Seeing there's no additional public comment here in Correct, we turn to public comment through WebEx. Operations, if there are any commenters in the remote queue, please begin to put the commenters through.
Madam President, there are no commenters in the queue at this time.
Public comment is now closed. Hearing, now we move on to commission discussion and action item on to adjourn the meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting in honor of Tony Wong?
I so move that we adjourn this meeting in the memory of Tony Wong and the service that he provided to the San Francisco Public Library.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Well, you can, but we both second.
Okay, Commissioner Bolander seconds. So we have a motion from Commissioner Lomax Garaducci and a second from Commissioner Bolander to adjourn the meeting.
And I will take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf?
Aye.
Commissioner Ono?
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you to everybody, especially operations, for the hybrid meeting technology wizardry. And thank you to fellow commissioners and to the staff. Thank you, and we'll see you in October. The meeting is now adjourned.